10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, and welcome everybody to Stadium Connect North, episode 53, our first late night / after hours episode here. NinjaGuy X, he's drinking a lot of coffee here so he can stay awake and be vibrant for this one here. But no, this is going to be a really great episode here, as each and every episode is. We have a special guest all the way from Japan. So currently, where I am now here in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, it is 10 p.m. Friday evening. Ninja, it's an hour ahead for you, so 11 p.m. And for our guests here in Japan, it's just a little after 11 a.m. Saturday morning. So a huge shout out to everybody in the chat here. We appreciate all your love and support in coming out for this special episode here. Because we value the time of our guests here, we're going to get right into it here. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in our guests here. Hello and welcome to the show. It's our pleasure, and we are so glad that you could come on our show today.
Oh, can you hear us? It's on and a Honda, right?
あ、聞こえます。
Yeah.
こんにちは。Hello.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Is on?
Is he around? We're not hearing him.
Honda saying, "Where is on? Where is on?"
Yeah.
Oh boy. Well, this is
どうしたんだろう。
interesting
Yeah.
here. So on here is the business partner and the developer here. We'll kind of just go into it here. Hopefully Honda will kind of catch on to where we're going here. So we are talking with Honda, Japanese indie developer Honda from Wonderland Kazakiri. And we have on here who is the business partner and is going to help out with the translating, and Honda, who is the developer. So it looks like we're having a little bit of technical difficulty here with on. I don't know. Is there anybody in the chat? I saw Rebellica typing something in Japanese. I don't know if maybe we could get. Is there somebody here that could maybe help out while we get on situation figured out? Maybe anybody that's good in Japanese? Rebellica?
Anybody speak Japanese?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we need help.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
help. I need help. I need help.
Yes. See,
Mhm.
yeah, anybody, hopefully if there's anybody in the chat, Dead Dog says
I-
use Google.
Hey guys,
Oh, there we
I
are.
think
Yeah,
I don't know. When you guys were playing your intro, it muted me out and I couldn't get back in.
Oh man,
Oh.
sorry about that.
Yeah.
That's strange.
No, so
Well,
like it said press M to unmute, and I was clicking M and it just didn't work. Yeah.
Oh,
oh,
man.
sorry.
All right.
Well,
Yeah.
you're here now, so we're gonna start. We'll
Boy.
start over again here. This is good. This is funny though.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
thank you so much for taking your time to come on our show. We're so excited to talk with you and have your game come to Google Stadia.
Okay.
So we're going to go ahead here on, and I guess basically I'll read the question and maybe you could translate for Honda.
Yeah.
Say, can you introduce yourself to the Stadia community, those in the chat that are watching now, and tell us a little bit about yourself?
本田さん、今ね、見てるそのスタジアコミュニティの皆さんにちょっと自己紹介していただいて、あとちょっと経歴とかバックグラウンドに関してちょっとお話ししてください。
そうですね。はじめまして、制作者の本田です。よろしくお願いします。僕は結構昔からのゲーマーで、ゲーム歴はすごく長くて、日本なんでちょっと当時、アタリとかアミガとかそういうのはなかったんですけど、古い日本のオールド PC、PC88 とか X67000 って言われるような古いゲームでから遊んでます。で、そういったゲームなんで、昔はよくそういうのでプログラムとかしながら遊んでいたんですけど、で、学校卒業後は CG のデザイナー、コンピューターグラフィックスとかウェブデザイナーをやっていて、で、子供の頃にプログラムした経験もあって、今はそのデザインとかいろんな UI 設計とか、プログラムのいろんなものの全てがスキルが使ってゲームっていうのを作ってるって形です。
ありがとうございます。Yes, nice to meet you guys. My name is Honda from Wonderland Kazakiri. I've been kind of gaming for over like 30 years, 30, 40 years now. Yeah,
Wow.
and I mean, we didn't have the Atari or the Amiga in Japan, but instead we had this like kind of gaming PC thing called the PC88 series. Yeah, really, really old. Like before Nintendo was even a thing. Yeah, so it was it was a old line of gaming PCs by NEC. Yeah, and so yeah, he used to play a lot of games on there, and that game machine kind of encouraged people to program their own games. Yeah, so he has a kind of a little bit of a background in programming as a kid. Yeah, so
okay.
once. Yeah, after graduating from school, like he went on to study computer graphics and web design, and so on. And then now he's kind of incorporating his like childhood, hobby of programming all together, and it's all like lumped up into his game dev career. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Wow, that's very interesting. Could you maybe tell us a little bit about the history of Wonderland Kazakiri? Like, how was it created? When was it created? And maybe what are some of the services that the studio offers?
ワンダーランド風切り、
はい
の設立に関してのちょっとね歴史的背景と、あとその具体的にどういうサービスを提供しているのか教えていただけますか？
はい、ワンダーランド風切りは、基本的にはウェブの制作会社、映画の、特設サイトとかそういうのを作ったりとかしてるんですけども、もともとスタジオの設立っていうか、もともとはワンダーランドっていう会社を僕が作って、それは以前ちょっと別な会社に勤めてるときに、土日に2日間スターバックスにこもって作ったカジュアルゲーム、スマートフォンのカジュアルゲームが100万ダウンロードとか超えて、これゲーム結構いけるなと思って作った会社がワンダーランドだったんですね。で、その後そのまま独立してワンダーランドっていう会社をやったんですけども、知り合いのプログラム会社の風切りと合体してワンダーランド風切りになりました。で、基本的にはウェブを作ってますけども、僕一人だけがゲームを作ってる一人ゲームディビジョンって感じです。
ありがとうございます。Yeah. So yeah, Wonderland Kazakiri. The name is a bit long. It's because it used to be two different companies merged together. Yeah, Wonderland and Kazakiri. Yeah. So Wonderland was set up by Honda. Right. So like Honda was working as a web developer. He spent one weekend at a Starbucks just making this game he had in mind, and that game went on to do around a million downloads.
Oh
And
Wow.
he thought, yeah, it was just a 2-day, like game jam kind of thing, right?
Mhm,
And yeah, after it hit a million downloads, he thought, oh wait, maybe I do have a future in making games. And so he incorporated Wonderland, because without incorporation, he wouldn't have been able to sell it on different platforms and stuff. Yeah.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, so after setting up Wonderland, he had a buddy who kind of does website programming and so on, and so they kind of merged together to become Wonderland Kazakiri. So Wonderland Kazakiri is actually like a web dev company, and most of the time they make websites and stuff for movie companies and stuff like that. Yeah. And within Wonderland Kazakiri, there is a gaming division which currently only has Honda himself. Yeah,
Oh.
so it's like a one man.
One man show. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
one man game dev division within the company. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Does that mean that Honda is the only developer of Dungeon and Gravestone? I'm wondering.
そうです。
ダンジョンのゲームに関しては、本田さん一人で開発してるっていう感じですね。
はい。
Yeah, he's the sole developer doing everything.
Oh wow.
Oh
Impressive.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That is impressive. Well, so now that we're on the topic of Dungeon and Gravestone, I'm going to go ahead and bring up the trailer here while we chat about it here. Let's move it so we can maybe see everybody here. So we got the trailer playing. So as I said, so now let's talk about Dungeon and Gravestone. Can you tell us how the idea for the game came about? Was there anything that inspired you while you were developing it? And then maybe if you could tell us a little bit about the story and some of the gameplay and the features of the game.
ダンジョンゲームグレイブストーンに関してどのようにして、ゲームとして出来上がったのかとか、そのゲームプレイ要素とか、ゲームのアイディアをどのようにして生まれたのか、そういうのをちょっと教えていただけますか？
はい。ゲームですよね。ゲームは、もともとローグライクだけじゃなくて、オリジナルのテキストでできたローグとかも好きで、そういった自動生成ダンジョンのアルゴリズムっていうのを自分で作りたいなと思って興味あったんですよね。で、自分が作ったらどんなになるのかっていうのが最初のきっかけです。で、それからもともとゲームが大好きなんで、もう自分の好きな要素だけをどんどん詰め込んで、これも一人で作ってるからだと思うんだけど、誰も止めることがなく、自分が好きなゲームの要素をどんどん入れていきました。こんな感じで、好きな要素をどんどん入れて、大好きなゲームに仕上げていったのがダンジョン&グレーブストーンです。
わかりました。じゃあ、まずそれを伝えますね。So, Honda-san's always, been in love with the roguelike genre. Not just, like the recent kind of roguelike games, but even the very old, like text-based rogue adventure games. Yeah. And one thing that really, really fascinated him was the whole, the algorithm behind auto-generating dungeons that a lot of roguelike games have. Yeah. So that, that piqued his curiosity. And, one of the great things about being a solo dev, where nobody is there to say no. He's allowed to cram in anything he wants. Yeah. So yeah, like while he loves the roguelike genre, like he's also a massive fan of RPG. So he's mixing in a lot of RPG elements into his roguelike games.
Oh, okay. Good. Fantastic. Is there a story in the game or
このゲームってちゃんとしたストーリーみたいなものあるんですか？
大きなストーリーはありますけど、厳密に言うと、流れに沿ったしっかりしたストーリーはないです。
要するにやり込み要素みたいな。
はい、やり込み要素をメインにした雰囲気を楽しむフレーバー的な感じのものが多いっていう形ですね。
わかりました。Obviously, yeah, there is a kind of like a story going on. There's like an overall theme. It's, like classic RPG style, like kill the demon kind of thing. Yeah. But this game is like far more geared towards people who kind of want to enjoy the replayability. Yeah. The story does have it's in the backdrop compared to the main like function of the game. Yeah.
Very old school.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you can sink hours and hours and hours into this game. So
Awesome. All right, Ninja, if you want to go ahead and ask some questions here as well.
Definitely. So, first of all, thank you very much, Honda and Han, for coming in and doing this interview. I've played the demo and I'm very excited of the game. Like I was addicted just by playing the demo for an hour. I wanted to play more, so I really can't wait for the game to come out. So the game was initially released on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, PC, and mobile. So how has the reception been on the game since it's been released?
ゲームが去年の4月ぐらいに発売されて、いろんなプラットフォームにでプレイヤブルですけど、どういう評価ですか？
一応マーケティングがほとんど日本でしかしてなかったんで、ほぼ日本のユーザーしかの反応になっちゃうんですけど、いわゆる日本のユーザーのやり込みが大好きなゲーマー層からはすごい好評で、よく日本で言うんですけど、時間泥棒っていうコメントがたまに見かけてすごい嬉しく思った記憶があります。面白くてやめられなくなるみたいな感じのコメントがたくさんもらいました。
Okay, honestly, before I'm partnering up with Ukiyo Studios, we've only done marketing inside Japan. Yeah, so most of our users are Japanese.
Right.
But from the comments and stuff, a lot of the players are people who kind of love to play roguelike games, who love to sink in hours and hours and hours, in like dying and coming back again, kind of. Yeah. So in Japanese, we have this saying called time thief, or like a time waster. Yeah, it's when a game just kind of like takes all your time and commitment away from your daily lives. Yeah. So we get a lot of comments like that. Yeah. If you like it, you end up kind of loving it. Yeah.
Very nice. I'm actually addicted to a roguelike game made in Japan right now. It's called Pixel Junk Raiders. Funnily enough, it's made by Q Games, but it's not available in Japan at the moment. So it's kind of
yeah. There's often like a lot of kind of release windows related stuff with publishers. So
yeah, definitely. So we've recently learned at the Bit Summit, Japanese Independent Games Development Festival, that Dungeons and Gravestone is coming to Google Stadia, and thank you, John, for finding that out. It's incredible. How did the decision to bring your game to Google Stadia come about?
この前先日のビットサミットで、ダンジョンズが、Google スタジアでもプレイヤブルになるっていうのは発表されましたけど、具体的にそのスタジアに移植されるまでの成り行きみたいなのをちょっと教えていただけますか？
一応ビットサミットじゃないんですけど、その前に出展した春の東京でやったイベントでちょうど Google スタジアのチームと会うチャンスがあって、でそこでお話をもらって、すぐその場で出すことを決めました。それもやっぱりいろんな人にゲーム楽しんでもらいたいなっていう思いもあって、スタジアでも出せたらいいんじゃないかなっていう、結局僕が一人で作ってるんで、いけると思ったらすぐ行くっていうことですね、決めました。
そうですね。はい。So back in spring, there was a gaming event in Tokyo, and so when I was exhibiting there, someone from the Google Stadia Japan team came over to have a chat, and he said, "Hey, do you want to put your game on Stadia?" And again, since I am the sole decision maker, I thought, hey, it'll be nice if more people can play my game. So I decided to port the game for Google Stadia.
Yay!
Yeah, very interesting that there's Stadia recruiters in Japan, because the platform is not available in Japan yet, but it kind of gives us maybe a little hint that maybe we'll see it someday. I hope so, because it'd be cool for the Japanese to experience this platform. So one last question for me before I turn it back to John. Will there be achievements in the game on Stadia?
アチーブメント、いわゆるトロフィーみたいなものっていうのはゲームに導入する予定ですか？
一応実装予定で作ってますけど、ちょっとやっぱり実績って意外とデバッグとか大変で、 個人で作ってる開発者だと意外とコスト高いんですよね。なんでちょっと、頑張ってるんだけど、優先度は低くなるかもしれないけど、頑張ります。
はい、
ちなみにちょっと質問あるんですけど、スタディアのゲームって実績って必ずあるんですか？それ知りたくて。
聞いてみますね。はい。Right. First, let me answer your question. I'm kind of planning on putting in achievements. But achievements are actually a real pain for solo devs because there's a lot of debugging related, making sure that it actually pops up, making sure it actually catches your achievement and so on. So it kind of like inflates the development cost a bit in terms of time and dedicated and so on. Yeah. And Honda-san actually has a question for you guys. Do most Stadia games have achievements?
Yes. So it pretty much acts like the other platforms like PlayStation 4 and Xbox and these platforms. So most games has achievements, but there are some exception with a few games with no achievements.
Xbox と Oh, sorry. Go on if you want.
No, I was going to say there's even a community, Stadia Hunters, which is a whole community of Stadia users that their whole sole purpose is to track all their achievements and, kind of have like a mini competition of who can get the most achievements or who can, like get 100% of the achievements for the amount of games and things like that. So it's a real competitive community.
Okay. 本田さん、スタジアも、プレイステーションや Xbox 同様、やっぱりその、アチーブメントが実装されてるケースが多い。もちろんその例外もあるので、必ずしも全てのゲームがアチーブメントがあるっていうわけじゃないんですけど、はい。で、あと先ほどジョンさんが言ってた、スタジア、コミュニティの、コミュニティハンターズで、っていうオンラインコミュニティみたいなのがあって、そこでアチーブメントをちょっと比べ合ったりとか、誰が一番最初にトロコンできるかとか、そういう議論みたいなの場もあったりするので。
了解です。できるだけつけるようにします。けど、ト
ロ
コンできるような簡単なやつじゃなく難しいんで、期待しないでください。
If I can put it in, yeah, definitely love to put it in. Although, I think it's probably going to be really hard to, platinum this game because the difficulty spike does go up a lot.
Yes, I like that.
Awesome. Yep. Cool.
So I'm gonna let John here ask some more questions for Honda.
Okay. We have a question from the chat. Maybe if you can answer, I'll bring it up on the screen here. Raphael was wondering, Honda, roguelike games sometimes have the problem of making you die too far from where you respawn. Do you have a lot of save points, places where you can save in Dungeon and Gravestone?
ローグライクゲームってたまにね、死んだ場所から、リスポーンポイント、再生される場所ってかなりの距離があったりとか、してまた長い道のりで戻らないといけなかったりするんですけど、ダンジョンってどんな感じなんですか？
基本的には、必ず1回からなんですけど、一応ボスを倒した時にボスエリアから再開するっていうポイントはあります。
わかりました。Okay, so it's actually pretty kind of strict. If you die, they kick you out all the way back to the first floor. Yeah. But after you do defeat a boss, you have an option of starting from that floor.
Oh wow, that is awesome.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, good. Yeah, that's good to know. So that answered Raphael's question here.
But if I can add on that, although you do get, you are forced to start from the first floor again. As every floor is, kind of randomized and auto-generated, it kind of does become a kind of a new experience. You're not going through the same floor again.
Yes. And you get better weapons, better equipment, which makes it a little bit easier to every run.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. Awesome. We have a comment in the chat there saying, I can't wait to play this game. It sounds amazing. To be honest with you, since we first found out about Dungeon and Gravestone coming to Stadia. I've heard a lot of people in the Stadia community very excited to play your game on Stadia. So we're really looking forward to when the game comes out. And that kind of leads into my next question is, do you have a goal of when you would like to launch Dungeon and Gravestone on Google Stadia?
ダンジョンの、いろんなファンのコメントとか、あとジョンさんがそのツイートした後にいろんなコメントとか、SNS とかにあるんですけど、結構みんなダンジョンの、スタジア移植に結構ね、盛り上がってるらしいので、期待ですね。はい。
すごいですね。確かに期待ですね。
そうですね。で、実際ダンジョンのスタジア移植なんですが、だいたいいつ頃、ね、発売日みたいなのってわかりますか？
そうですね。明日出します。っていうのは嘘ですけど。いや、でも実際すぐ出したい気持ちではあるんですけど、このプラットフォームの初めての経験なんで、どういった認証プロセスっていうか、配信までかかるのがまだわからないんで、もうちょっと未定ということで、もうしばらくしたら発表したいと思います。
わかりました。じゃあその後開発環境上では動いてるっていうのも含めて。
そうですね。実際、そうですね。今は動いてます。
わかりました。If I can, I'd like to release it tomorrow. Yeah. But actually, we've been running some tests on Stadia's test kit, and it's playable. It works. It's playable there. But we actually have no idea when it's going to release. I think it's actually the first Japanese indie game on Stadia, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's actually the second.
Second. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Q, right. Yeah. Q games.
We'll say one of the first then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Yes.
Yeah. So we don't have any info about what the actual release procedure is like. So we're testing it on the test kit, but it'll be nice if we have more info. Like okay, after the test build is done, what's the certification process and so on. We don't really know a time frame. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's still something that's being worked on. Okay. And is there do you have a contact at Stadia? Maybe the same person that asked you at one of the trade shows about bringing your game to Stadia? Do you have a central person at Google that you would ask these questions to, assigned to you?
春にちょっと声かけていただいたGoogle Stadia Japan のスタッフさん、もしくは他に常に連絡取り合って、例えばこういう発売時期っていつなんですかみたいな質問とか聞ける担当の人っているんですか？
います。ちゃんとその人と取り合ってやってますんで大丈夫です。
はい。Yeah, we do have a person, like a point of contact. Yeah, and could potentially ask them, questions and stuff.
Okay, great. Well, yeah, we're just very as you can probably tell here, we're very excited to play Dungeon and Gravestone on Stadia. So
yeah,
we can't wait for the opportunity to finally be able to play it. There was a question here. Let me take a look.
This one? By any chance?
Yeah. So there's Cloud Gaming Dad was wondering. We know that you have it up and running on the test kit, the Stadia, the test kit that Google gave you. Did you have any challenges to get it up and running, or was it pretty, straightforward and easy to do?
Okay. スタジアの移植なんですけど、何かそのスタジア独特のなんか難しかった移植にちょっと難しかったポイントとか、もしくは他のプラットフォームの移植と比べて何か変わった要素とかってありました？
まず最初クラウドだからテストキットも何も全部クラウドなんで、そこの感覚が全く違くて最初は戸惑いましたね、単純に。目の前に実機があるわけじゃないんで、はい。
で、他になんか技術面でなんか
技術面は実際正直言いますとユニティなんで大丈夫です。
わかりました。 Like the porting itself, because it's all based on Unity, it was actually, it wasn't that hard. Yeah. But
good.
something that felt really, really different was because Stadia is based on the cloud. Like there's no physical test kit. Everything is done via the cloud. Yeah. So that was a really kind of like surreal experience, because usually, as a dev, like you're given test kits, right? Like a physical massive box.
Yeah.
To do stuff. But yeah, I mean, this how everything's done online it was a very kind of like strange feeling.
Oh, that's interesting. We always like to hear. Another question here: were you surprised by the amount of chatter on social media and Twitter once the Stadia community found out about Dungeon and Gravestone coming to Google Stadia?
なんかね、このような形で、SNS とかでもそうなんですけど、そのスタジアコミュニティの注目に、なることに関して、なんかね、どうお考えですか？
いや、もうただ驚きですね。正直、日本だとスタジアって全然もう最初に発表された時だけ以来で、ほとんど聞いたことがなかったんで、そんなスタジアってこんなにユーザーやっぱりいたんだっていう驚きです。ただただ驚き。
Yeah, very surprised. In Japan, as you said, Google Stadia doesn't have a presence. It was announced a few years ago, and since then, like pretty much not a single article related to Stadia has ever really been online in Japan. So, it's kind of a really like he kind of forgot that it existed. Honestly,
Yeah. Well, no, we can understand. Like you said, if the service and the platform isn't available in Japan, then like you said, there's no real reason. The way that the community actually came across it in the Stadia subreddit, somebody posted a link to a Japanese website. I believe it was 4gamer.net. And they had an article announcing, I guess at the trade show, they spotted there was a little like pamphlet or newspaper that says Dungeon and Gravestone coming to Google Stadia. So somebody spotted the picture and the Japanese article, posted it on Reddit, and then people in the Stadia community found out about it, and then we started asking, is this true? Is it really coming to Google Stadia? Is it a rumor? And it kind of just blew up from there.
Okay. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. なんかそもそも発見されたきっかけっていうのが、フォーゲーマーさんが、なんかイベント会場でのチラシの写真かなんか撮って、そこでスタジア移植予定みたいなのがあって、それ経由でその西洋のレジットっていうその SNS プラットフォームに投稿されて、そこでコミュニティ内の人たちがね、盛り上がって、で、ここに至ると。
なるほど。でも、そういうコミュニティがあるのを知れて、なんとなくスタディアユーザーが盛り上がってるのを見れたんで、こっちも作るのやる気出ました。
Yeah. I mean, it's always great to know that there is a community out there that's kind of interested in your games, and although in Japan, Stadia doesn't really, it's great to know that on online and on Reddit and stuff. So he's really motivated to get the product out. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's awesome to hear. And it kind of maybe leads in another question here for Honda is, what do you think Google could do to attract more Japanese developers to the platform?
Google さんがですね、今後そのスタジア、日本の開発者をもっとね、スタジアに呼び込んだりとか、ね、呼び込むためには、その Google さんとしてどういう、ね、取り組みをした方がいいですか？
いや、そうですね。やっぱりでも、インディー開発者とかを増やしたいんであれば、やっぱりもう開発者のサポート体制を増やしたりとか、そうすると僕みたいな小さい作ってる会社の人は入りやすくなるんじゃないかなというふうには思ってます。あとはうちのゲームをうまく成功すれば、いい感じで宣伝できるんじゃないかなと思ってます。
わかりました。The short answer is to, make Dungeons and Gravestone successful on the Stadia.
Yes.
But to go into detail, Honda-san's a solo dev, and
Mhm.
although Google reached out and asked us to put the game on Stadia, but like
Mhm.
that's kind of where the support ends. There's no like financial incentive or anything like that. So it really it's self-published to the very end, right? The
Yeah.
devs bear the cost of actually like porting it, doing the debugging and everything sure it runs on Stadia and so on.
Mhm.
As a developer, Honda-san wishes like if there's like a better support structure, like support infrastructure to help out
Mhm.
devs. I mean, indie developers with a publisher backing them, they often the publisher provides a lot of the porting services, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And bigger games, triple A's, it's all handled internally. Whereas with Honda-san, like he has to kind of do everything himself. Yeah. And for a solo indie dev or indie devs from a small team without publisher support, things like
Mhm.
that are often like a huge Herculean task. So if Google can provide some sort of support to make that process a lot easier, I think that'll go a long way for a lot of
Long
Japanese
way.
devs who
Wow.
would potentially be interested. Yeah.
Wow. Like I know when again the community first heard about Dungeon and Gravestone coming to Google Stadia and that it was coming from a Japanese indie developer, I think like it's a very significant milestone for the Stadia platform because as we said, um, Google Stadia is not available in Japan. And just
Yeah.
as you mentioned here, an indie developer, it's just Honda himself. He has to do all the work himself and, has that having to put that money up front, all the development, everything that we had just talked about. So I think like this is a very, it's not just another indie game coming to the platform. It's very significant that it's coming from Japan, a country where the service is not available. So I think that's
Mm.
one of the things that like gets people excited is because now we have two indie developers from Japan. Q Games, which is a larger um, Ninja, they have I think what like at least multiple,
Uh,
right? Yeah.
yeah, at least maybe 30 developers or
Yeah,
more.
yeah,
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 it's
yeah.
pretty
And
big.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
Honda is the very first solo Japanese indie developer. So we're hoping not only is your game successful, but this will also encourage other Japanese developers, indie developers, or even larger companies to also bring their games to Google Stadia. So, like I said, we feel that this is a very important title and hope it does very well in the Stadia community.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Um. Yeah. Definitely. I think Google's lack of or Stadia's lack of presence in Japan makes it a big risk because
Mhm.
in Japan Japanese devs don't have any numbers, right?
Right.
And actually like even the Stadia we contact couldn't actually give us the numbers.
Hmm.
Oh
So
wow,
we're actually going in blind. We don't know like how
it's
many
a big
players there
risk.
are or expected number of sales. We actually
Yeah.
don't know any of that. Luckily
Hmm.
Honda-san kind of went with his gut and said, all right, it's
Hmm.
a new platform, hopefully it works
Yeah.
out. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
think Japanese devs in general they don't often take a lot of risks. They're very,
Right.
very cautious in their approach, in terms of business.
Hmm.
So unless stay that kind of surefire, like guaranteed, like hey, this is the number of users, this
Right.
is the number of expectations, it's gonna be a bit tough. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I mean that definitely makes sense. And again, thank you so much, Honda, for taking that the chance in going into the unknown and bringing your game to Google Stadia. I know along with the NinjaGuy X and others in the community, will do the best that we can to help make it successful for you. And also, that will, maybe in the future you could bring even more games to the platform.
Yeah, and hope that rise Honda's confidence in releasing his game on Stadia, knowing that we're a big community, very excited for the game. Yeah.
そしてね、リスクを取って、ね、リスクを取って、スタジアにちょっと移植、ね、することに、ね、スタジアコミュニティの人たちももう本当感謝の気持ちばっかりで。はい、で、まあね、もし、このジョンさんとこの忍者ガイさんも、ね、結構いろいろと PR とか、ね、告知とかしてくれるので、これありがたいですね。はい。で、これで成功すれば、はい、今後ね、別のゲームとかの移植とかもぜひ検討いただければと。
そうですね。それはもうこれから楽しみにしてます。スタジアに出すことをすごく。はい。
はい。
どんな結果に至るのかも含めて。はい。
He's excited for the results, and he pumps. Wonderland Kazakiri pumps out a game like every year or two. For a dev studio, of that size, they have quite the good track record. Yeah, so if Stadia works out, then even future games, there's a chance that future games will also be ported to Stadia.
Wow, that's fantastic to hear.
That leads to a question that we have, right?
Yeah, it does. I know, there's some questions in the chat here, but I think you kind of went over, and I just wanted to clarify. So at this point, you have Dungeon and Gravestone up and running on Stadia, but you're now waiting to find out what the next steps are, the certification process, pricing, publishing, and whatnot. Is that correct?
Yeah. 今、スタジアって、その開発環境的には、もう OK ですよね。でその後の例えばその価格設定とか発売時期をこれからスタジアと話し合って決めていく。
そうですね。はい。決めていきたいと思います。はい。
Yeah, so it's running on the test kit, and yeah, it's playable and stuff. I'm just kind of smoothing over some of the rougher edges, testing things out, and also getting in touch with Stadia to kind of decide on, I guess, the release window and pricing and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay. On Stadia, they have there's also a portion that's called Stadia Pro, and it's very similar to PlayStation Plus or Xbox Game Pass, where it's a subscription service, so users can pay $10 a month, and they have a variety of different games, that they can play on there and whatnot. I know you probably haven't got that far in your talks with Google, but is this something that you may consider releasing Dungeon and Gravestone into Stadia Pro?
Yes, and are you familiar with the service also?
Yeah.
本田さん、スタジアプロってご存知ですか？
知ってます。一応そういうプランがあるのは全部知ってて。
はい。Xbox のゲームパスみたいな。
はい。ゲームパスみたいなやつにするか、引きするかってことですよね。
ですね、はいはい。なんかそれに関してなんかダンジョンズにそのスタジアプロになんかスタジアプロに追加されるっていうようなお話とかってありました？
多分それも含めてこれから決めていくと思うんで、ちょっとお待ちくださいって感じですかね。どういう感じが一番ユーザーに届くのかはちょっとこれから考えます。っていうかわかんないです。僕もちょっと聞いてみないとわかんないです。はい。
わかりました。Yeah, he's heard of Stadia Pro, but he has no idea if his game is going to be part of that. They haven't really discussed it at all, so hopefully, he'll get to talk about it with Stadia soon. Yeah.
Okay. And would that be something that he would consider if Stadia offered his game to be on Stadia Pro? Would that be something that Honda would consider doing?
もしスタジアプロに、ゲームを追加する機会があれば、なんか入れてみたいですか？それともその単品販売っていう形でやってみたいですか？
入れてみたいですね。とにかくたくさんの人にゲームしてもらいたいんで、もしそういうユーザーがたくさんいるんだったら、プロの方がいっぱい遊んでもらえるんじゃないかなと思います。
Yeah. I mean, obviously with a subscription service, it's accessible to a lot more people. Yeah, so other people to play, and one of the great things about Wonderland Kazakiri is that the art style is kind of timeless.
Mhm.
dated art style. Yeah, so the game can be,
Right.
they have another game called Block Quest Maker, which was released a few years ago. Pretty much the
Mhm.
same kind of graphics. Yeah, so
Mhm.
if people, play Dungeons and they like it, they can test out like his games from the past, his games from the future. So in order to like build an audience, like he thinks a subscription model would be a pretty nice deal. Yeah.
Well, that's great to
Nice.
hear. Awesome. All right, Ninja, maybe you've got a few more questions here
Mhm.
for Honda.
Yes. So, I'm very curious to. Hopefully, it'll do well, and I really hope that we get to see more games coming from Honda on Stadia. But a question for Honda: what is your thought on cloud gaming in general?
クラウドゲーミングそのものについて、なんかどうお考えですか？
クラウドゲームあんまやったことないんですけど、でもどんな環境でもゲームが楽しめるっていうのは、すごくゲーム人口を考えると未来があるとは思ってて、こっちのインディーゲーム開発者からすると、それだけプレイする人が増えれば、届く人が増えるから、すごくいいんじゃないかな、未来があるかなって思ってます。うまくそういうインフラだったりとか、PR がされていけばいいんじゃないかなと思ってます。と、反面、昔からのそのオールドゲームユーザーとすると、ちょっと目の前に実機がないと少し寂しい感じはあります。
そうですね。実際はワンダーランド風切りの場合、モバイル対応されてるゲーム、ほとんどモバイル対応されてるじゃないですか。
そうです。
なんか
はい。
そういうモバイル対応っていう面でも、そのゲーム人口を増やすっていうのは、やっぱり数値化しても結構すごい数字だったりするんですか？
モバイル、そうですね。やっぱり多いですね。そういう感じです。
Yeah, in terms of cloud gaming, the possibility is kind of endless. Like you can be anywhere as long as you have a good, strong working internet connection. And, you can play the games. Yeah, and for Wonderland, other than Stadia, really, they have their games ported on every platform. Switch, Xbox, PlayStation, and mobile. Especially mobile. Porting their games on mobile or developing games for mobile, it just kind of the number of users just kind of explode. Yeah. And so the possibility of cloud gaming itself, like it doesn't just have to be Stadia. It can be like cloud gaming on your phone. When you consider cloud gaming in general, it reaches people. So there's definitely a lot of potential there, and for indie devs, that's a potential kind of game changer. Yeah. But that being said, as an old-fashioned gamer, not having a device in front of you or not having the physical game, there, there's something, there's something a little bit sad about technological obsolession.
Yeah, I can understand that for sure. So, a question for you: do you is there any popular cloud gaming service right now in Japan?
Oh yeah, actually, there is. Square Enix has a very interesting cloud gaming service. They partner up with like a cloud gaming, I don't know, like some sort of cloud gaming service company.
Okay.
And so they have the Final Fantasy series on cloud.
Wow.
Final Fantasy 13.
Nice.
I think even Final Fantasy 15. I'll have to check about 15, but 13 definitely, yeah. So I was playing 13 on my phone. And this isn't recent. We're talking like 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah. So
wow.
yeah, it's just the problem is like Japan doesn't really they don't sometimes like there are some unique services they don't really expand overseas. Yeah, so like I was playing FF13 on my phone, like like from Square Enix, like probably like 4 or 5 years ago. But I guess they never released it for overseas.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. In the 80s and 90s, technology in video game was so different from Japan to America. So it's very interesting. Like now it's a lot more similar, but it was very interesting to see all the differences back in the day. The last question that I have here is that would Honda have anything else has anything else to say or tell the people who's watching right now
本田さんなんか最後に、
はい。
海外の、このスタジアコミュニティに向けて何かね、メッセージとかあれば。
じゃあ、ダンジョンに捧ぐ墓標のちょっと PR していいですか？
はいはい。
で、じゃあ、ダンジョンに捧ぐ墓標は、僕のゲーム、さっき言ったように人生のすごく長い体験を凝縮したような、もう大好きな要素をとにかく詰め込んだ RPG になってるんで、すごく楽しめると思いますので、ぜひ楽しみにしてほしいと思います。ただ、ちょっとやっぱり最近のチュートリアルが丁寧なゲームと比べると、いきなり世界に投げ出されたりして、ちょっと不自然に感じたり、もしかしたらちょっと怒っちゃうかもしれないんだけど、いろんな発見をするたびに面白くなっていくような、ゆっくりと成長していくゲームです。ぜひぜひ、不思議な世界を楽しむように挑んでほしいなと思ってます。
ありがとうございます。Yeah, so the last is a bit of a plug for my own game. But this game has kind of everything in it, based on my 30 plus years of gaming. Being a gamer and a game dev. Yeah, it's made by me. So everything I like is crammed into this game. Every gameplay mechanic and so on. And yeah, so it means a lot to me. And while I was making this game, I was playing Dark Souls. So I took a lot of influence. I took a lot of influence from there. I don't, this Dungeons games doesn't really have a tutorial, just kind of there. And yeah, you will die a lot. It's part of the gameplay, and for some people, this kind of difficulty, difficulty spike might be a bit of a turn off. But he really doesn't intend to put in a tutorial. Just kind of throws you in there and hey, go ahead. Yeah. But for those who enjoy the mechanics, for those who played enough to kind of get a hang of it, there's a lot to do. It's a really well tough but fair kind of balanced RPG system. Yeah. So yeah, we hope you give it a chance and kind of take the time to really enjoy it. It's a bit of a slower. It's a bit of a slower pace to kind of get used to it, but once you do, I think you'll get hooked, and yeah, there's a whole entire world there for you to explore.
Yes, I really like the strategy of the game. Well, from the demo at the very least. I like someone's question here who has just been asked by Cloud Gaming Dad. If he's allowed to talk about it, because maybe he's already working on his next game. But what is the next game he would like to work on?
この視聴者さんからの質問なんですけど、なんか次のゲームってもう予定されてる？
はい。そのビットサミット X ロードで発表したカセットボーイっていうゲームがあるんですけども、それを今作ってるところでスタジアの並行して、はい。
なんか具体的にどういう感じのゲームなのかっていう説明も、例えばダンジョンズと比べてどう違うのかみたいな。
そうですね。カセットボーイ本当に絵を見せたいんですけど、ちょっとまた同じようなこういうボクセルライクなんだけど、ちょっとゲームボーイ的なトーンが少ない4色ぐらいのグリーンの感じで、でパズル RPG にしようと思ってるんですけど、すごく変わった仕組みが実装されていて、最初見た人は意外と驚くと思います。それはちょっとお楽しみにするとして、カセットボーイって名前の通り、カセットテープに魔法とかを録音して再生すると、いろんな技を出せるっていう。で、たまにカセットが終わっちゃうと巻き戻さなきゃいけないとか、ちょっとさらにまたウォールドライクな変わったシステムになってるんで、楽しみにしてほしいと思います。
はい、わかりました。Yeah, he's actually working on a game called Cassette Boy. It was also announced at Bit Summit. Yeah. It's a little bit different from Dungeons. Well, the biggest difference is that the Cassette Boy is kind of inspired by the old Game Boy, the old Game Boy design. So we're actually, in terms of a color palette, we're only using 4 green tones of Game Boy, the original Game Boy.
Oh, nice. Yeah, awesome.
But it's still got the same Wonderland Kazakiri style voxel art. Yeah. And we don't really have a working trailer yet. We're working on a trailer and a demo soon. But some of the cool the whole point of the game is the cassette, the old the Sony Walkman cassette kind of thing. Yeah. And so one of the gameplay mechanics is you can have magic or your spells in this cassette. Yeah, and you can
Wow.
play it.
Oh.
Play and cast your spell, but
Oh.
at the same time, like a real cassette, like you have to rewind things or you can't cast your spell and things like that. Yeah, there's some very interesting.
Oh.
Yeah, there's
That's
a lot of
awesome.
interesting gameplay mechanics in there. And I think even if you've played dungeons, like if you go on to play cassette boy, it's probably gonna be like a completely different experience. Yeah.
Nice. That's
But
awesome.
we'll have more info about Cassette Boy releasing kind of later in the year. So yeah, please keep an eye on that. Yeah.
Awesome. And is it going to be released worldwide?
Yeah. We already
Okay.
have localization plans and everything. We'll try to get it out in multi-language at once. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
Wow.
That's awesome. So that's all the questions I had on my end, John.
Yep.
If you have anything else to say for the video.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone involved for making this happen. A shout out to David, who I initially contacted about setting up the interview here. Thank you so much for that, on Honda. We really appreciate it and very honored that you would come on our show to talk about your game. It was our pleasure. And a big shout out everybody in the chat as well. This is great, and the Stadia community is very excited for your game and possibly future games. So we can't wait till we can get our hands on Dungeon and Gravestone on Google Stadia.
そしてね、本当今日はこちらのトークショーに参加していただきありがとうございますと。いろんな、みんな、ダンジョンズ&グレイブストンを楽しみにしているので、もう残りの開発時間とか頑張ってください。
はい、こちらこそありがとうございます。
Yeah, thank you very much too. Yeah.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Thank you so much. Alrighty, so I guess that is going to wrap up our show here. Again, thank you to everybody involved in making all this happen. NinjaGuy, thank you so much. I know it's later in the evening for you, and I know for Honda and On, it's
early
lunchtime. It's lunchtime Saturday in Japan.
Yeah.
So again, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of the day, a safe weekend, and we will see you all again here real soon. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.